What's up, guys?
Hello.
Happy Friday.
Happy.
It's Friday, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is still Friday. Happy hour.
Yeah.
Here we go. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
We're really excited to be here virtually.
Yeah.
Hello, friends. So yeah, we are here to kind of have an adventurous happy hour. A couple years ago, we did a bar takeover with our friends at Adventurous Stills in Tempe, and then AZ Better Labs, who we feature all the time because we love them. And we wanted to kind of like pull some recipes from the archives and share them with you all on a unique platform for us. So everything's on the blog, so if you want to follow along, we do have some friends who shopped and got all their bars stocked, so we're excited for that. And if you want to follow along, you can find the recipes on the blog. We made some changes, so refresh your page per usual. And yeah, we have 3 cocktails we're going to do. We even have our old school menu from the event, but we're going to do a Manhattan.
Yeah, we'll riff on a Manhattan.
A mule.
Riff on a mule.
And a tiki drink.
And our version of a tiki drink.
So if you guys have any questions as we do that, go ahead, drop them in the comments, and we will be sure to address them. So
yeah, let's go like a minute or two. Are we good?
I think we're good. We got
cool.
people here.
We got people here. Well, what's up, guys? Thanks so much for coming out this evening, staying home, whatever. So the first cocktail we are going to work on is called Relentless, and that is our Moscow Mule that we did our riff, again, with Adventurous Stills. Our riff on it, other than being our ginger, is with the grapefruit Fleur de Sol. And then we're also partnering with AZ Better Lab, AZ Better's Lab, with the figgy pudding. So these guys right here, going in this cocktail. We're also using our copper mug. This is an American Mule copper mug. This is about a pound of Arizona copper. If you guys are looking for like an awesome copper mug, this is a great one to get. Local, and like you could fight your way out of a bar with this thing.
I remember them saying if you were going to be in a bar fight, that is the cup that you want.
This is what you want. This is what you want. And we're going to talk a little bit about why the copper mug for a Moscow Mule as we build this cocktail. So the first thing I'm going to do in this, guys, is add some ice, which actually plays right into it. So why wait? Let's talk about it. The reason we use copper mugs is this little guy gets really, really cold. Copper is an excellent conductor, not only of electricity, but of hot and cold, just energy in general. And so this guy's going to get super, super cold with the ice.
And there's so many different kinds of copper mugs. They're the really chintzy-ish ones.
There's some that are copper plated, and that's more for appearance than function. Like this one's definitely for function and for home protection. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you've joined us before, is always start with your sparkling water. Again, Topo Chico, amazing, great sparkling mineral water. We're going to throw a couple ounces in there. So that is our Topo Chico's, the start of our Relentless cocktail. And so the name Relentless comes from just the idea of mules sort of being stubborn as a mule, and then just sort of like these work animals that just go and just do. And when we did this a couple years ago, we were still, we're still very much grinding and every single day hustling. But that Relentless, and then that tie into the mule, again with Adventurous Stills being sort of new at the time as well. We're all hustling, we're all being relentless, and so they kind of just fit. So we really liked the name, and so we ran with it. So as we've talked about before, also we're gonna go with our least expensive ingredient to start. So that would be our lemon juice.
So the mule mug is called American Mule. You can Google them. They're online. They still are available for sale. We just checked them out today. They're beautiful. They're just really high quality mule mugs. So if you don't have a copper mug, you can consider adding this one to your bar collection.
Yeah. You don't have to have a copper mug by any means. We rarely get to use these guys, so we decided to. We really enjoy it, and we wanted to feature it, so here it is. So the first thing I did was add my half ounce of, well, this is lime juice, but my half ounce of lemon juice. Again, these bottles, repurposing, are amazing, especially for things like juice. You can always recycle our glass bottles, but if you can upcycle, even better.
Great question. Why don't we use copper mugs for all drinks since they're so chilly and great?
That's a great question. Honestly, it's because of the upkeep. To really keep a copper mug like its life cycle, you really have to treat it well. This one's actually been abused a little bit, and luckily you can't tell a whole lot. But to really like these things, just they're designed to be used this way, but they don't have a longevity in like a restaurant. If you wanted to put every cocktail you make at home in this, by all means, go for it.
Go for it. It's gonna sweat. Use a coaster.
It's gonna sweat. Use a coaster for sure, especially during monsoon season. It's gonna be drippy. So.
Hi, Marissa.
Hello. So we got our lemon juice in there. Next thing is going to be our ginger. So we're going to do an ounce of our ginger syrup. This is what we call our great modifier. So the ginger goes in there. I'm going to leave it up here just for now, and then I'll take it down. The ginger, very fiery, not a lot of sugar. And then 3/4 of an ounce of our grapefruit.
That's why I love our ginger syrup. So mules, instead of using a ginger beer or a ginger ale, you could use this as a ginger beer concentrate instead. So an ounce of that, and then adding it to your soda water kind of recreates the typical ginger beer.
For sure. And people ask us all the time, like, oh, so I add this to my ginger beer? You can. It seems a bit redundant, but if you want to add ginger to your ginger, it's your prerogative. Do what you like.
It's your cocktail.
It's your cocktail. Next up is our figgy pudding. So we're going to do 6 drops of the figgy pudding. So what this adds, the bitters, so we've talked about it before, the salt and pepper of your cocktail. This guy has really great, the fig and then the currants in it are playing really, really nice with the grapefruit and the ginger in here. So it's really, really nice. And then, go ahead.
We have Adventurous Stills Picket Post Vodka. So all the spirits we're using tonight is from Adventurous Stills. They are available at their tasting rooms Fridays and Saturdays. If you never explored this spirit, it's a great lineup. The guys over there are awesome. They are here, so if you have specific questions about the spirits, you can always ask them, and we'll get them answered for sure.
Definitely. And I'll do my best to answer these questions. I will say that this vodka it's a wheat and corn blend. Has a slightly sweeter flavor than you might be used to, but it is ridiculously smooth. So
yes.
Definitely give them a shot.
We may or may have not taken a shot of that before we started.
We gently sipped it to experience the vodka.
It was part of it. It was part of the research.
So there's no ice in here, dry shaking, because I've got my ice and my seltzer in my copper mug. So just giving it a quick dry shake. Everybody's getting to know each other in there. And then we're going to top our ice and seltzer water with our mule concoction.
Yum.
A little bit of froth in there.
That's cool too. The citrus, when you're shaking it too, it kind of, the proteins activate, right?
Yeah, they activate a little bit. There's not a ton of protein in citrus, but there is protein in citrus, and that's where the froth is coming from. But that is why we're shaking this cocktail rather than stirring. Again, you can totally stir. You're going to get not the same cocktail, but a similar cocktail. But we're shaking it because it does have the citrus in it. So that's why we're shaking as opposed to stirring. And then we happen to have white grapefruit. So this looks like a giant lemon. It's actually a white grapefruit.
We robbed our neighbor's tree.
We borrowed a grapefruit from our neighbor's tree. So we're garnishing it as such. And then the reason two things. The reason I'm having it like hang over the edge right here is because when I drink it, I want it to be right here and I want to smell it. You can put a twist on this. With these big, like beautiful white grapefruits, and they're so aromatic, and we happen to have a whole tree full, I don't know, I went a little gaudy with it, so it's fine. And the white grapefruit is not super sweet, but the aroma is exactly what you want in citrus and in a garnish, so it's really great.
Taste test official.
I mean, I would have one of those all day.
The copper mug makes it so chilly.
It's very chilly.
It's very, very cold. Use a coaster.
Yeah.
So this is our first one. Break it down again for our people.
Yeah, so it's 2 ounces of the Adventurous Stills Picket Post vodka, and then we've got our ginger syrup. We're going to do an ounce of that. We're going to do 3/4 of an ounce of our of our grapefruit. We already did ginger. And then the figgy pudding, bitters, and a little bit of lemon juice. And a little bit of seltzer water. Again, we used Topo Chico. This guy right there. So that's our riff on a mule, at least one of them, and we call it the Relentless.
For the ice, we had a great question. Just regular ice, whatever you got in the freezer would work for this, because the copper mule or the mug is keeping it so.
Yeah, the mug is keeping it cold. In certain cocktails, the ice is super crucial. In this cocktail, I would say what makes it crucial is the medium-sized ice. So you don't want a big piece of ice because you want it to stay cold. The mug is going to work. And honestly, you could probably throw a giant cube in there and be fine too. But why waste it on this when you can use it for your whiskey cocktails? And the super fine ice is kind of overkill. You don't really need that. So regular ice from your fridge is perfect. Out of the bag from convenience store, whatever you're getting, that's going to be ideal ice for the Moscow Mule or
and again,
the Relentless.
Another really popular question tonight is the mule mug. It is a copper mug from American Mule. You can find them on Instagram. You can purchase from them. They're great. Megan, Luke want them for Christmas.
Oh,
so
perfect.
we'll make a note for you guys.
Done.
So that's our first
That's the first cocktail of the evening.
cocktail.
Yeah.
Again, if you're just joining us, we are making cocktails from our past bar takeover with Adventurous Stills and AZ Bitter Labs. We added all these recipes on our blog post, so if you're following along and you're making cocktails with us, let us know how they taste. And if you have any questions, just ask them. That's what I do. I ask this guy questions constantly.
That's what I do. I just answer. I'm full of worthless yet very valuable somehow information.
Eric wants to know why we didn't name it after him. Do you want to get into that here?
I mean, there's so many reasons. Tom, where do we want to start? I have several cocktails named after Eric, and we can get into that another time.
We'll have our own show just for you.
Yeah. It's basically branded by Costco, and so we can go into that at another time.
Bonnie, I'm so glad that your bitters came in time. Again, the bitters that we're using tonight is AZ Bitter Labs. You can go check them out through
Bitters Lab.
AZ Bitters Lab.
I keep doing it too.
You can find them through their social media as well. They have a great product. You can also buy them locally. Adventurous Stills has them stocked, Liquor Express, all those fun places too. So, what cocktail do we have next, Matt?
We have the riff on the Manhattan, and we call it the Trailhead. We have a similar cocktail that we make with our spiced honey. This one is made with the Cascara vanilla. And fun fact, distilleries, which Adventurous Stills is a distillery that has a tasting room and a bar, you're not allowed to make cocktails or basically have alcohol that you didn't make yourself or distill.
Yeah.
So Adventurous Stills doesn't have a vermouth, and we wanted to make a Manhattan cocktail. So
we had to get creative.
We had to get creative. Luckily, that was about the time that we came up with our Cascara vanilla, which is this guy, originally designed for coffee. Clearly, we're going to find a way to put it into alcohol, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
So
didn't take a lot of work.
Didn't take a lot of work. So the Cascara vanilla is going to help be the base of our sort of makeshift vermouth. So we're going to start with our makeshift vermouth, and we're going to do an ounce of our Cascara vanilla.
So you're doing this one, we're stirring this cocktail.
This is going to be a stirred cocktail.
Cool.
And you can see I have a super fancy stirring glass. This is a pint glass.
So fancy.
So fancy. I am upgrading to my favorite bar spoon. If you've joined us before, I have used a chopstick to show you how simple it is to stir and how you don't need to have proper barware, but I love my bar spoon, and I use my chopstick. So
Mallory, if you don't have Cascara vanilla, or anyone watching doesn't have Cascara vanilla, salted cocoa nib would actually be really cool in this cocktail, which I know you're stocked with. And it would pair really well with the Fossil Creek. So just get that from your fridge, and you can use that instead.
So something really quick about the Fossil Creek, it has a really great sort of it's almost candy flavored. So it's toffee, it's vanilla, it's a little bit of milk chocolate. And it has not a ton of spice to it, but it has a lot of candy notes to it. Maybe even dried apricot a little bit, but it's really, really cool for that reason and pairs amazingly with the vanilla. And then what we're doing to help balance this cocktail out, because we do have the Cascara vanilla, so slight berry, slight vanilla, and then a little bit on the sweeter side with the whiskey. We're going to balance it out with our bitters. Again, salt and pepper. We did partner with AZ Bitters Lab for this whole collaboration, so they're going to be in all these cocktails as well. So again, my favorite of their collection is the Orange Sunshine.
And while you do that, we got a question about our Cascara vanilla.
Okay.
Cascara is the husk of the coffee fruit. So coffee kind of grows like a cherry, and typically the husk is discarded. So we've partnered with Blue House Coffee, who sources the Cascara directly from Brazil. So it's almost like a tea, like a cherry tea like ingredient. And we take that, we make a tea out of it to extract all that like really cool cherry flavor from the cascara, and we pair it with the vanilla to make a really just flavorful mixer that we designed for coffee, but we make cocktails with it like we're doing tonight.
So it has, like Kaylee said, it has a slight berry flavor, and it looks a little bit like Cocoa Pebbles.
Cool.
A little bit like Cocoa Pebbles. So this cocktail is a stirred cocktail, and we've talked before about stirring and how it can be intimidating. Again, we're going to do our Spock and these two fingers.
I can't even do that. Why did I try?
Well, I
I'm
don't
so
know.
embarrassed.
But you can still hold a glass or hold a spoon like that. So that's how we're going to hold our spoon. I'm going to throw some ice in here though, because otherwise it doesn't matter. And for this guy, we're going to use our Nick and Nora. You can use any coupe. We decided to go with a Nick and Nora. That's a style of glass, like the tall little guy here. And then, I don't know if you can hear our neighbor calling her dog, but
she's there.
she's out there.
It's either the cats or the neighbor.
Yeah.
You can always get crazy with your bitters. I think what's going to happen if you add too many bitters, your cocktail is going to, oh my gosh, you guessed it, get a little bitter. So you'd want to balance it out with a little bit more sweetness from the cascara vanilla or your salted coconut, whatever you're using. So just taste along the way.
Yeah, taste along the way. Make notes.
If you like it, then go for it.
So I'm giving this a nice long stir with the alcohol content being around, it's 46%, and with the cascara being a little sweet. This can stand to have a pretty long stir to really open everything up. And just to touch base, I did 6 drops of each of these, so I didn't really talk about it, but so 6 drops of orange, 6 drops of Mikasa, which is the house or aromatic bitters.
And while you stir that up, got a question from the audience. This little blue bottle is actually just what we stored our lemon juice in. So we love lime juice in, citrus juice in. So repurposing the bottles are really great. These glass bottles are very sturdy and handy. So if you have drunk all your mixer and you have leftover bottles, give them a good soak. The label comes right off, and you can use them for all sorts of things in your home. So just juice.
If you're watching along at home, I just stirred the whole cocktail without putting any whiskey in. So I'm going to go ahead and add the whiskey now.
That is why you taste along the way. And then while you stir some more, I have a question from the audience.
Perfect. Yes, whiskey goes in Manhattans, if you were curious.
We got a question from Travis Nass. He wants to know if there's ever been surprising combination of your mixers that you've discovered in your time with Iconic.
There have been a few. So one is actually how many people cook with our stuff. That really surprised me the first time I had anyone tell me that they use our stuff to cook with, and I had never thought of that. I would have never cook
so
how.
So like what?
So your sister did our spiced honey over carrots and yams and in applesauce. I know that a friend of ours, Rob, has used the ginger to saute shrimp. Salmon and shrimp.
Fish.
Yeah, fish. You can actually use our ginger a little bit like mirin, which is a sweet sort of Asian cooking wine. It's almost like the sweetness plus the ginger, and you can use that for saute and stir fry. So that's really interesting. And then salad dressings. Some people have told me they've used our honey to emulsify salad dressings because of the honey. Also using the lime leaf and some of our other citrus flavors to give their salad dressing acid, which is something I never would have thought of.
So we're just not a cocktail business. We can do it all, guys.
We can do all kinds of stuff. We're a pantry essential.
Salmon.
So, aside from needing to add whiskey to your Manhattan, I looked at that and I just knew that wasn't tall enough. There was not enough stuff in there. So this is the Trailhead, and the garnish on this was a couple. I don't know if you can see it, but 2 Luxardo cherries or brandied cherries. You don't have to do Luxardos. It's a Manhattan, or you don't have to do a brandied cherry. It's a Manhattan. I think it's pretty great, but you don't have to. And so here's my official taste tester. I'll see what she thinks.
Thank you. And then hello, Steven. You and your wife are watching and making some cocktails.
Nice.
I think that's great. I'm so excited. Are you mixing with us, or are you just learning a few tips or tricks? So cheers. This one's to you guys. This is delicious. Here we go. I think the Fossil Creek whiskey is my favorite from Adventurous Stills because it's so chocolatey.
It is.
It tastes like a candy bar.
Yeah, in a good way, and not too sweet. I mean, it's like I said, it's 46% alcohol, so it's got backbone. It's definitely a big beefy.
It's good that you stirred it.
Yeah.
Because the dilution definitely needs
You
to
need the
be
dilution.
there.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a boozy one.
Yeah.
Here, you want to try it?
Sure.
Cool. So if you're tuning in, if you're joining us, we are making cocktails from a past bar takeover. We did this back in 2018.
Yeah.
I think it was our first one, but me and Matt don't agree on that. But what we do for our bar takeovers...
It was definitely early on.
It was really early. Matt kind of designed a special menu that kind of highlights the spirit and our partners or the brands that are involved. And we put together this really unique menu. He hops behind the bar. And we make cocktails for anyone who wants to join us. So usually around this time is when we're putting more on the calendar.
We'd be planning them. We'd let you know about them.
So instead, we're doing them here. So we have one more cocktail recipe for you, and it could be the most exciting, most fun cocktail because it's tiki.
It's tiki. We just want to recap this really quick. So the Fossil Creek, the Trailhead cocktail, and then that's with the Cascara Vanilla and the Mikasa and the Orange Sunshine bitters. So put these back in there.
Chase out of interest still said that making the menu was so much fun. It was. We got to go a couple weeks early and just R&D behind their bar, which is always really, really fun. So
it's always really interesting to pop into someone else's world, essentially. As a bartender, you kind of get a little protective of your space. So we have been really fortunate that we've been welcomed into so many places and sort of invited in to come and sort of play on someone else's turf. So it's been interesting. I feel like I've got an opportunity to bartend in places that I never would have seen otherwise. So that makes me really happy.
All right, AZ Bitter Lab says, let's go tiki.
Let's go tiki.
So let's do it.
Let's get tiki with it. Alrighty, so I wouldn't say first things first, but so tiki. A lot of people, the first thing you notice about tiki is the mug. We happen to have, you can kind of see the face on it. It has a little bit of a face. Usually these things are made of wood or rich mahogany,
or porcelain,
coconut, porcelain, all kinds of ceramics. Anyway, ours is just glass. It has a little face on it. This is what we got.
I feel like tiki culture starts with the glass.
It starts with the glass. It starts with all of a sudden you're overcome with this sort of oh my god, is that thing smoking? And the stories behind it. Tiki is a relatively new sort of genre of cocktail, relatively because we've been drinking forever as humans. So it's really interesting, and what I think is cool about it is there's so many newer stories that can be told about tiki cocktails, and you can really sort of grab so many ideas and be really, really creative with it, and it's not a wrong answer.
So what's our story with this cocktail then, Matt?
With the SRP, this is the Salt River Project. For us, I guess we're designing this cocktail. I really just wanted to feature as much sort of back and forth balance as possible, which is really great to have in a tiki cocktail. If you've ever looked at the ingredient list on a tiki cocktail, typically you start reading it and then you just finish. You're like, I saw a couple things I like.
So many things.
I'm done. I don't care. I like those 3 things. I don't care what the other 6 are. Screw it. I'm gonna drink it. But the idea is that everything is elevated and everything balances each other, and it just keeps kind of going back and forth. You keep raising one side, so you have to raise the other. It's almost like cutting your hair, and you keep getting shorter, so you have to keep going shorter. But it's like cocktail form. So you keep raising the bar with sweetness, so you have to raise the bar with alcohol, and then you have to raise the bar with bitter and spice, and then you just come up with this amazing cocktail. So, first and foremost, ice. We're going back to ice. So in this glass, we're putting crushed ice. And just to kind of tell you or show you that you don't have to have, it's called a Lewis bag, when you the bag that you put ice in to crush it.
Any canvas bag will do.
This is go ahead.
We're using a Form Floral bag. They're a local florist, and they just released these new canvas totes. And I just got one, and it's very, very clean. So we used it for our ice crushing. And then Matt actually taught me how to do this. So if I can do it, anyone can. But I'm a woman with a hammer, so watch out. What you want to do when you're crushing your ice is you want to use this more wider surface. Because if you use this more directed area, you're going to pierce through your bag and you'll probably rip a hole in it. So if you do just like really easy flat motions with this wider side, you'll get more surface area, you'll crush more ice, you won't injure your bag or your tote that you could be using.
Yeah.
And
I think the most important thing is use like a clean tote and as new as possible, because if this thing is worn out and you start whacking on it, even if you're being like sort of careful and gentle, you could, blow out the side of it.
it is Thor style.
It is Thor style.
Mm-hmm.
I call this Mjolnir. This is my Mjolnir, and luckily we're both worthy, so we can both use it. All right.
Or buy ice from Sonic. That is a great hack.
Pebble
That is
ice.
actually what we did for the event. We
Yep.
did not go crushing all the ice
No.
for the takeover. We went to Sonic. The pebble ice there is really, really fun and easy. So if you ever want to add that to your freezer, you should.
You should. So really quick, we are going to use a straw for this cocktail, but it is a metal straw. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in now. It's going to just be a lot easier to put in now before I load it up with ingredients. Alrighty, so for this cocktail, this is the SRP, or the Salt River Project. The name sort of comes from, if you live in Arizona, the Salt River, we get a lot of our electricity and power from it, but there are, I want to say, 6 different reservoirs that were all created because of SRP, or the Salt River Project, and that's where we find a lot of recreation with water here in Arizona, and tiki just feels a lot like being like on a beach, having a cocktail, and that's about as close as we get. So, SRP Salt River Project is our tiki cocktail. Alrighty, so
I'm going to put her face up.
Oh yeah, sorry, I thought I had that way.
No one can see it.
All right, so
What are we putting in this guy?
we're gonna start with the lime juice. So we're gonna do a ½ ounce of lime juice. And the reason that we're not using a ton of citrus is we have 2 mixers that have a pretty great acidity. We're using this to help bump up that acidity, and again, go back to balance. It's all about balance. So there's our ½ ounce.
While you're doing this, maybe not while, but you should remind them the cool punch rhyme.
The punch rhyme, yeah. So there is in tiki, and really quick, while we're talking about it, one of my favorite books is And a Bottle of Rum. If you're interested in cocktails, rum, tiki, or American history, this book is awesome.
Just covers it all.
And a Bottle of Rum. But there is sort of an old punch rhyme. It's 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak, and spice. And those are basically the 5 components of, to me, any great composed cocktail, but of punch and of also tiki cocktails.
Cheers, Bill and Lil. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers. Alrighty, so we've got the grapefruit in there, and we're doing
Lime
½ ounce.
tonic. Yep.
Now we're doing a ½ ounce of lime leaf. We're gonna do a ½ ounce of the spiced honey.
We are pouring the ingredients into a shaker, not
Yes.
directly into the cup. We have a
Correct.
very small window to work with.
It's true.
And we're putting a lot of mixers in this one. So.
That's true. And then we're also doing, for the mikasa, we're doing 6 drops in, and then we're saving 6 drops to go as garnish. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in. And not going to forget the booze this time.
The most important part.
2 ounces of
The booze we're using is a Papago rum from Adventurous Stills in Tempe. The Papago rum is probably like my second favorite one. It's super caramely and rich and smooth. I think it shines in a tiki cocktail, but I'm not a expert by any means. So
No, it definitely plays great. It's Caribbean molasses. Has a great depth of flavor. Works awesome in tiki cocktails. I mean, it would be great for basically whatever you want to put it in, but it plays really, really great.
And then speaking of tiki cocktails, the rhyme one more time for our
the
viewers.
rhyme one more time is 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak, and spice.
Which doesn't rhyme.
Which doesn't rhyme. And the spice was originally either tea, or in our case, we're going to use the bitters. I guess I'll set that back over here. So we're doing, again, 6 drops in. We're going to save 6 drops for the cocktail itself. One more time, our dry shake. So
because
dry
it has
shaking.
citrus.
Because it has citrus.
Hi, Jenna.
We're going to emulsify it a little bit. And then when you have crushed ice, sometimes it'll kind of like stop up the cocktail. So just make sure you're pouring it. And like we melted a lot of this while we were waiting. So I'm going to go ahead and top that guy with ice.
Eric Eric says that breadfruit has an opening.
Oh yeah? Perfect. I can't wait.
Breadfruit in downtown Phoenix is an awesome rum bar. We have a lot of really cool tiki joints and rum joints here in Arizona that we're so lucky to frequent.
So we're going to be adding our garnishes
The
now.
best part.
So really quick, I'm going to go ahead and, man, I hope you guys can see this. You can see it a little bit. So I said save those 6 drops. We're going to do 6 drops on top of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's part of the garnish right on top. And we talked about it before with garnishes. It's really about like the last little bit of the cocktail and like the sort of the aroma and the effervescence of what's going on. So we've got all that bitters right on top. And now we're going to start garnishing with the other stuff that we have.
And with tiki, too, what Matt was saying earlier, everything is elevated. So the flavors are elevated. To go along with that, the garnish also has to be elevated. So this is the point in your time where you can just grab whatever you have in the fridge that might be expiring, whether it be fruit or citrus or like pineapple fronds. You could do like flowers, edible flowers could be really cool. And then the really fun part too, we did do a post when we did the takeover. We had this little plastic monkey. We didn't have any of our neon swords or anything or swizzle sticks. But this is the time where you can get like a little cheesy with your cocktails too.
So what we have here are dehydrated pineapples, and these are actually from our friends at Fluffy Vegans. These guys are awesome, really, really cool snacks. But they do a dehydrated pineapple product, which is
great for garnish.
Great for garnish, awesome to snack on. And then we have this great mint that we picked up from the community garden.
The community exchange table at the farmer's market. They also have dehydrated lemons and limes lately that I've been seeing there too. So if you don't want to dehydrate them yourself, you can get them from the exchange table. So. Yeah.
So this is the Salt River Project. This is our tiki cocktail that we made, sometime in the past. Maybe our first event, maybe not. We don't know.
But yeah, this is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, you should try it.
Okay. Don't trust my arm. Oh, it's so good. Super refreshing. I feel like I'm on a beach or maybe by one of our Arizona reservoirs.
There you go. One of the Arizona reservoirs. The reservoirs.
So yeah, the rum kind of is a perfect addition of booze. It's not, it's boozy, but it's not like in your face.
No.
It's very balanced. So what are some tips to keep it balanced? Like what if you get too far to one side?
It depends on the side. So just keep the bitters will help balance sweet. And then sweet will help balance alcohol. So if you go a little heavy on your alcohol, you can think of sweet. You can also think of, weak. So more ice, more water, more, maybe some Topo Chico to help balance things back out. But your bitters are going to help balance your sweet, and then the water sort of neutral things are going to help balance your strong, which is clearly, your booze.
Again, the spirits that we're using tonight is from Adventurous Stills in Tempe. This is their Papago Dark Rum, and you can buy it directly from them from their tasting room. Everything is backwards. I just realized that too. Eric, let us know.
Oh, whatever.
Yep, so that is that. And then again, to recap this one, we have the rum, we have the spiced honey, we have the lime leaf, we have the grapefruit fleur de sal, we have bitters, we have all of the garnish in the world.
Yeah.
Or in our fridge at least, so.
And Liquor Express in Tempe also has all this stuff stocked. And then, let us know if you guys have any other questions. So we've done a few bar takeovers in the past. And so if there's any that you were at and then you liked, you wanted to know anything more about, or you'd love to see us revisit and show how to make those cocktails, we'd love to do that.
Yeah. Again, too, thank you all. That is all the cocktails that we have. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to recreate any of these, all of them are on our blog. We'll add and we'll be sharing the recipes throughout the week. So if you ever feel adventurous and you need something to really just lift your spirits, these are it. So yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers. Happy hour.
Yeah, we're gonna enjoy the rest of our Friday night.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Again, if you have questions, let us know.